Generally, yield just 10 seconds for unanimous consent.
Yes, I yield.
In the vein of reining in these agencies that are, I think, in so many ways out of control, I would ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter that I sent today to the IRS Commissioner, Mr. Warfall, regarding the situation of an FBI agent knocking on Mr. Taibbi, a journalist's door, IRS, yeah, excuse me. I would ask unanimous consent to enter that record and letter into the record. With that, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, without objection?
Without objection.
So ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm busy handing it to you, Mr. Ranking Member. Gentlelady is recognized. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually want to concur with gentlelady from Wyoming that actually EPA probably is the most abusive agencies, and actually Supreme Court ruled last year on their complete overreach of their power and authority delegated on the Clean Air Act, and what they're doing with Clean Water Act is actually, I would argue that trying to take private property rights by the government, private property abusing the power of the government, and when governments try to take your private property, this is actually a communism by Karl Marx. It's not even socialism, and it's very dangerous, and I'll be honest with you, look at the P&Ls and financials of all large corporations and all these big funds like BlackRock. They're doing just fine with all of the regulations that my Democrat colleagues issued. They're making a lot of money. But who is getting hurt is the little guy, that farmer or some business owner that cannot afford to hire lawyers and CPA for $1,000 an hour, that cannot afford to go and lobby to every government level and sitting in the offices and trying to make their case. That's who's getting screwed. And we now have a situation now where all of the so-called dark money doing just fine, but the little guy has no ability now to be able to start a business and be able to compete and have abilities to make money. I think this is a very dangerous situation where we're now concentrating the power close to the government, close to Washington, D.C., and giving the power to the bureaucracies that people have no ability to even have an input. I mean, this is crazy, and this is very dangerous for our country. And I will tell you, I mean, EPA is so creative. They do the suicidal gimmicks, to try to violate even Administrative Procedures Act. They're doing all these definitions, They use and they pay people to come into committees and lobby on something that doesn't help the people. But in reality, that's what's happening with all of these environmental regulations that we put. Because when they're unfeasible, what's happened right now? That we're killing, destroying businesses in our country, and companies like BlackRock are part of it. They're given a lot of power. They don't have to follow the rules. But what's happening? We're burning coal from China. We're helping Russia to make a lot of money, and American companies are getting screwed. And our pollution has net effect higher than that was before. Because when we push our companies to do business in lawless and corrupt countries and dictatorship, they collude in the same environment. We don't build the walls, from China or anywhere else. In the same ocean, and all pollution goes. Instead of have reasonable laws, the representative of the people and the businesses here, and help our people and our companies and our Americans to succeed. So this is just dumb. And if you think about it, some of these funds, that wasn't this, climate change agenda of BlackRock, like British funds, that actually, there are some activists that are honest, and I actually respect if someone is honest, and not hypocrite. If you want to drive everyone a bike and you're driving a bike, I respect you. But if you're flying big jet fuel jets and you want me to ride a bike, well, screw you. You're not going to tell me what to do. This is wrong. You have no power to do that. And these big companies have no right to tell us what to do. And I think we as legislators need to think about it, who we're representing, because these agencies do not represent with the people. They represent big special interest group. People rotate between them. They get in jobs and lobbying and careers and all of these different companies, and they're promulgating these rules to benefit large special interest groups. And now they are becoming so powerful that everyone is afraid to challenge them. And I think if we are not going to go back and think, what are we doing here? We're going to destroy our our country, how it is known and how it was set up, and it is very, very dangerous. So our branch has to get our act together and start doing our job and not be afraid of administrative state, not be afraid of large corporation and big money that coming from all directions, but we actually remember that this republic is set up in being the greatest republic in the history of the world for only reason there is no difference between the people, because the people have the most power and freedoms, and if we take these freedoms away from we the people, we're going to unfortunately abandon and betray all the people who die for our freedoms. I yield back.